joined together in solidarity with UT Austin and their Gun-Free UT campaign, and we're here in hopes that the UTEP community will stand and raise their voice against a law that does not have the students or the faculty's best interests at heart. This is a policy that can only raise fear and anxiety in an already fast-paced and stressful environment as a university. So while it has been stated that the individual public campuses may regulate Senate Bill 11 by creating gun-free zones where they see fit, the law has been framed in such a way that makes it illegal to exempt entire buildings or dormitories. And adding to the difficulties in regulating this policy, no professor can actually ask a student to verify their concealed handgun license. And aside from the law itself, UTEP students have a good reason to fear the allowance of more firearms on campus.
The stand is this: I don't want guns in my classroom. That is my single note on my flute, and I've been playing it over and over again. The Texas state law that goes into effect August 1st next year is an obscene travesty against the common good that places our lives in danger and destroys the protection for freedom of thought and speech that the classroom has always afforded in our free society.
This is important. Guns on campus is important. It's a bill that's already passed, my friends. And while I saw some materials from you all that said we need to work to repeal the legislation, I think that is our long-term task. But there are some things in the immediate future now that we have to do as students, as faculty, and as staff at universities and colleges across this state. You know, under this bill, despite the fact that we had Moms Against Guns, or MOM, and every town, and all the gun organizations against, anti-gun organizations against the bill, most of the universities and colleges were against the bill. Most of law enforcement, certainly law enforcement from our large major communities where there's universities, were against it. Students were against it. So this is an example for you that even when you have the vast majority of the citizenry, even the polls indicated, the Texas Tribune poll, the UT poll, that people are against further proliferation of guns, that people are for limiting guns and adopting common sense safety rules. Even though overwhelmingly you have that, we have these kinds of bills passing. Not just guns on campus, but even open carry. And at this for open carry, meaning that those folks now that have concealed handgun licenses can carry them openly outside of universities. In universities, they have to still have them in concealed holsters.
I signed the petition because I am a staff and faculty here at UTEP, and I'm against the idea that there should be firearms on an institution of higher learning. For principle, for one, and for safety, we have campus police, and if they need to be more secure in this campus, I think that they could use some funding to hire more police to be trained, and to have more police posted up at the different buildings, which will also create jobs. And I don't think that people who are coming to an institution of higher learning should be having to come here in fear that there's someone carrying an arm, and if an incident were to break out, we're still not really sure how people with firearms are going to handle the situation. Most people are not trained in firearm combat or in urban combat.
If students have weapons, they have something to defend themselves with. But right now, someone can come and start shooting here. So if no one else has weapons here, who's going to respond to him? We saw this in past days in Oregon, where there were 12, 13 people dead, and no one to respond there. They said police departments can take care of that, but I don't believe that, because that did not happen. There were 12 people dead there. A couple of days later, it happened in Houston, where you had some other student having a gun there, and they responded. So they stopped a massacre like the one in Oregon. That's basically my point. You have something to defend yourself.
Our main concern is that our freedom of speech might be stifled. Sometimes in classes you might be in situations where the discussions get a little bit heated, especially when you have to express any sort of political, religious, or really any controversial subject. Sometimes discussions get heated, and I myself personally would feel, and as well as many of my colleagues, we would probably feel a little bit more reluctant to express our opinions and participate freely in class, knowing that there might be people who that have differing opinions, who might use weapons as some sort of intimidation or some sort of, or God forbid, any sort of like violence happens.
I think it's a very delicate issue. I mean, it's as delicate as abortion, as delicate as gay marriage. So, for start, if they want, I mean, I know that pretty much the conservative part is the one that wants to impose that on public schools. And that's okay. I mean, as long as you don't do any harm to anyone else, as long as it's regulated. But why to start with the most promising sector of the society to see if it's safe or not to carry weapons? I mean, why don't do the same thing but inside the Congress? Why don't each time that they go to vote say, okay, everybody bring your rifle, your guns inside your briefcase, and we are not gonna frisk you. You're able to pass. Okay, so if you're gonna pass or try to enforce a law of that magnitude on the free world, on Occident, it's kind of ironic, you see? So that's my point of view.
It's kind of, I'm kind of 50-50 on it because for one, I would like more people around campus that carry weapons just in case of an emergency. We have more trained personnel. But on the second hand, the more people with guns, the more risk there is of some altercation escalating to, well, an active shooter situation over minor things. People have tempers and push them to the limit and they're going to explode.